Hey everybody, Fred Gazelle here, My Tiny Forest. This is going to be, I believe, episode 4. We're sitting here on Martin Luther King Day, so Monday in January. And the funny part about this is that a lot of my trees, because it's so nice where we live, seem to think that it's spring. And I was just watching a video that Eric Schrader at Bonsai did. Highly recommend his channel. I think I've mentioned him every video I've done, where he was taking some young Japanese maples and setting them up for long-term success. So I've got 4 Japanese maples here. They're from seed. I got them from a neighbor here that lives around the corner, has a big beautiful Japanese maple in her yard, and she had a couple of seedlings that had volunteered, asked me if I wanted them, and of course I did. So last year was really just about getting them into pots. You'll see I use a lot of these yogurt containers because my family goes through a lot of them. Getting them in some decent soil, making sure that I'm watering and fertilizing them regularly and keeping them alive. But now that we're getting into kind of springtime, I want to set them up for success. So I'm just going to go through and pull these out. I'm not gonna really prune them. And based on that video I just watched by Eric Schrader, I'm not gonna try to completely bare root them unless I need to. I'll set this up so you can see it a little better. So I am gonna try to remove a lot of the soil. Actually, now that I'm seeing this, I've mentioned that my preferred medium is 80% perlite to 20% some kind of peat. I just use the sphagnum peat moss that you can get at your local home improvement retailer. But now that I'm looking at this, it is that same mix, but it's not the same ratio. So just from looking at it, I can tell this was before I had found that ratio that Eric at Bonsai had suggested. My trees seem to love it, but this one's a lot heavier on the peat. That being said, I do have some really healthy root growth. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get some radial action going here without doing too much trimming. And I'm trying to get in the habit of using, this is just some broken tile from an old house project, but getting things to really spread out. So I don't love what's going on here. If you can see, it's got a big kind of section going off there. I'd like to push that back if I can, but I don't have a whole lot to work with. We're just gonna do the best I can, and we're gonna up pot it into a little bit of a oversized container, another yogurt container, surprise, surprise. But I do want to get it into the mix that I've seen a lot more success with, which is that higher ratio of perlite. So I do want it to be on one of those tiles. I need to find a good way to put holes in these tiles. To be totally honest, I have some ceramic bits, but I'm not seeing a ton of speed trying to get holes. See, I'm pretty much leaving these roots intact, and then I'll just get this on there the best I can. Maybe it'll work great, maybe it won't. Give it a little bit of stability. Not trying to do too much here, but I do want to encourage that lateral root growth. Get it in there. There's a little bit more of that. Actually, now that I say that, no, that's too heavy peat. I'll throw that to the garden. And then so it's not drying out with my perlite, give it a good water. All right, from here, I'm gonna just wire a little bit. I don't have a whole lot of room to really stick a good wire in there, but I'm just gonna get a little bit of movement in the trunk itself. I'm kind of just giving it a nice loose wire here, especially since I can't get a good strong one on the ground. Just get a bend early and low, not really stressing about it. Get that so it's going up there, and that'll be good to go. Yeah. All right. Not loving that, but see, I just took all the end out. Not really going my way here today. All right, let's see here. There we go, that's a little better. Try to get some. Try to get somewhere I'm not just going vertically. All right, a little bit of movement. On to the next one. A couple of these are a little bit smaller, you'll see. Another yogurt container. I can see really good root growth, so that's exciting. Try to pick that apart. I can't remember where I saw this technique of putting a little tile under there. I know I've seen it a couple places. Some people do tiles, some people do little stones, but it seemed to make a lot of sense to me while still taking advantage of the deeper pot. So I'm trying it out. This one, I actually think that I've got some that are all about the same level here. So I might actually chop off what kind of looks like a little taproot going down there. I think there's still plenty of good feeders on that one. So same thing. Do this one with some copper wire that I've got. Same thing, see if I can get it to spread out. And tie it down as best as I can here. I think I've said it in a previous video. I use just old electrical conduit. Not because it's better to work with. In fact, I would say it's more of a pain in the butt to work with. But I have a bunch of it, so I use it. I'm gonna try to correct what I did wrong on that last one, which is not leaving myself a way to anchor what I'm doing with the trunk here. So let's correct that error and anchor it a little bit better. Get that movement I want in it. Much better. Okay. That one, going a little bit bigger of a pot here. My pot in the other container. Almost the way up. So, excuse me. Doesn't quite like that, does it? Oh yeah, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, I don't love that. Worried here that I'm not going to be able to get that out. What I might do, trim. I just need to make sure I can get it out when the time comes, so I'm not going to stress about that. A little more soil to get it up to the top. You can see I'm pretty laissez-faire here. Get that down into the soil. I'm just going to cut away this yogurt container when the time comes anyway. So get it in the soil, get it back growing, and there we go. Okay, but now I need to be ready for that problem. Let me see, I'm kind of going in order of size. This one's much smaller here. One of my other favorite containers for seedlings is the top ramen that my kids seem to like so much. Don't even really need a chopstick for this one. Look, got some really good root growth. Cool. This one's a little smaller. I don't know that I'm going to do anything to the roots here. They're all, there's one that's a little higher. I'll just pick off. Otherwise, looking pretty good. Get that on there. Nice and solid. You know, with this one, I might see if I can. Sorry about that. So this one here, I'm going to try to just use the same one I'm anchoring it with to give it that movement I want. Just experimenting here with what I got within arm's reach. Some good movement on it. You see I'm wearing pretty darn loosely here. I think this pot's probably plenty big for that one. Isn't that good? Good, more chunky soil in there. Stick that on top. I think the other thing that I like about the perlite in particular is that it seems to not really break down, which is nice, because then I end up not having to buy more just over and over and over again. Reuse a lot. This one's really not one to go in there. Maybe I'm making a mistake here, but I'm just gonna roll with it because that's what I do. Maybe we'll have a bunch of Japanese maple videos coming up. Because if you watched my bench tour, you'll remember that Japanese maples are the whole reason I wanted to get into bonsai in the first place. But secondly, because I collected about 500 seeds this year in the fall. They're currently, well, that one was just in dirt. Okay, now I'm definitely glad that I'm doing this. And of course, this one is the same age as those other ones. Obviously didn't do as well. And now that I'm looking at what it was planted in, I think I know why. So with this one, I'm actually not going to put it on a tile, and I'm just gonna try to get it healthy. It's obviously still alive, but not doing as well as some of the others. So you know what? I'm gonna leave that one alone. let it go for a year. All right, I don't know if these are best practices or not. Again, I tried not to really trim roots at all, but get them going laterally. I did trim a little bit on one, try to get a little bit of movement, and then really here just made a judgment call that that one really should just be left alone. Get in some good soil. I can see a little bud swelling on it, so hopefully that's a good sign. Otherwise, just try to get these set off on success with that. So with that, I'm gonna end here. The last thing I'll do after watering is go logged in the My Tiny Forest companion app. If you want that, it's a free bonsai tracking app that I've developed. It's a web app, so you can do it on any device, any computer, whatever you want to do, just with an email address. And I'll put the link to that in the description here. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.